One. Here we go, people. We are back with another motherfucking podcast. Here we go. This time around, though, guys, we got a good one here for you. We are going to be talking about... Huh?
So what we got going tonight, brother?
Yes, we are going to be talking about wrestling video games from the 80s, 90s, and into the early 2000s.
Ooh, good old school stuff.
We're going old school into, kind of somewhat newer school. And it's going to be cool. And as we talk about these video games, I figured this time around I'll have gameplay footage in the background, as we talk about each and every, game that we've, played. And that's another thing. This was a request by another YouTuber named Daniel Santana. So, good looking out for that, because this is something that we should be talking about, because we did play a lot of wrestling games back in the day.
Oh yeah, dude. That's all I've read. That was my games back in the day.
Right. Plus, we got gameplay footage of us in the 90s playing like WWF, the WrestleMania, the arcade game. And, yeah, and that's on my channel. And we also have gameplay of...
what was that one, like a Warzone or something, wasn't it?
I don't think it was a Dreamcast game. It was one of the... what was it? I'd have to look it up. Let me look it up as we're talking about this stuff. I have a few gameplays from, like the late 90s and early 2000s of wrestling games. So we're into wrestling.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, back then the stuff was like really fun. And what I liked most about like these wrestling games, especially in the 90s and early 2000s, is we had a variety of games. Like in the later years, it kind of went down to just like one game, which is the WWE 2K games, and that's pretty much all we've been getting for years until like recently we've been getting like other newer games like Action Arcade Wrestling and Retromania Wrestling, which is a nice change. But yeah, for years it's just been like the same thing, another 2K game. It's like, what the hell, man, nothing else?
No.
But let me take a look here.
What I like the best, though, is I like the evolution of wrestling games from the 80s till now. Because if you go back and think of, like, the first game I remember ever playing for the Nintendo was the original WWF WrestleMania game.
Okay, yeah, and we're going to get into that in just a minute. But let me go over what I do have from the 90s. We got... Like I said, we got WWF the arcade game for the PS1 gameplay from 1998 that you can check out on my playlist where it says videos from the 90s into the early 2000s. And then we have a Dreamcast game night of WWF Attitude from 2001, over 20 years ago.
Is that the one we were doing the Battle Royal or whatnot?
I believe so. I'd have to go over that, but man, we were just like goofing on each other big time, and we were playing that game for quite a while.
I remember it was funny. Like there was I think it was that game where we were playing it. You hear like a fan yelling "D-Lo."
Yeah, it was a woman saying that, and Angela's like,
And our buddy Angelo was just like, "Oh, shut up, bitch!"
Yeah, that's in there. That's in there. I remember that. I kept that in there. Yeah, because we were just funny motherfuckers back then, man. We were just goofing on each other and talking all kinds of shit.
Talking shit.
Yeah, that's how we were, man. But okay, we're gonna start off with the '80s wrestling video games. Now, two that come to mind right away that I used to play is Pro Wrestling for the NES 1986, which I actually still have, and WWF WrestleMania from 1989 for the NES.
Yeah.
Now, which one do you want to get into first? WWF WrestleMania 1989?
Was it 89 that
Yeah.
game came out? I
19.
thought it was like earlier than that.
No, it says there was one before that called Micro League Wrestling, 1987, but that wasn't.
No, I'm
That's
just saying.
not
I
for the
remember
NES.
having WrestleMania. Like, it must have been because.
Yeah, it says
Yeah,
1989.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a cool game. I know everybody would look at like the. I mean, if you think about watch the gaming part of it, it kind of the graphics now. You look like, wow, this looks so shitty.
Yeah, I remember thinking, that with pro wrestling from 1986, like, wow, the graphics are cool. It looks good. You know, it's hard, but it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But we'll start off with WWF WrestleMania for the NES.
Yeah.
I had that game. It's hard, you know.
Yeah, I always liked when they had the music's playing for during your fight. Like you could mash like a certain button, and it would just keep playing like the wrestler that you are is like kind of like theme over and over. And
Oh, okay.
I remember playing with my brother back when we were kids. And I used to keep hitting that button, and I would annoy the shit out of him with that.
No, it's
I'd be the honky tonk man, and you hit that button for his music, and you just keep hearing the. And I just keep playing that over and over. My brother like, stop that!
Now it says here, according to Wikipedia, it was released in North America in January of 1989. So, right at the beginning of '89. And here's what's cool is it's a single player, but it says multiplayer up to 6 players. That's interesting because I don't remember that.
I mean,
I thought it always was like a one-on-one. You know.
Yeah.
But then also it says here a Game Boy version. They started the development of a Game Boy version in 1990, but was canceled. Oh, I didn't know that either. Interesting. So
Yeah.
did you had that game? I would assume back then, right? Like
Yeah. I think, dude, honestly, if it came out in '89, and I remember playing that game in like '89, '90, stuff like this. So we must have got that game like soon after it came out.
Yeah, January. So right at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, that was cool. Like, I mean, I remember playing that game. You had a few like. I think you had like all the greats on there. You had like Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Honky Tonk Man,
Andre
the Giant.
Right. There wasn't a whole lot of wrestlers, but yeah, all the good ones.
Like I said, I just still thought it was funny always being the Honky Tonk Man and hitting that button over and over to annoy my brother every time we played, just to keep Honky Tonk Man's music going.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that's the game that's probably most well known for the NES.
Of course.
Back in 1989, I'm sure a lot of people picked it up.
And just like in typical '80s fashion, when you go see, look at the cover of it. Of course, it had the '80s icon Hulk Hogan on the cover with doing this infamous like ripping of his shirt.
Yeah.
Like,
Tear the shirt. Yeah, I know. And, also, I don't know if you played it, but I played, from 1986, this NES game called Pro Wrestling.
Oh, shoot. I don't know, honestly.
I'm sure you have. If you've seen the cover, you'd probably be like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember that.
I remember playing, like, the WrestleMania game, and I remember playing, like, for like the original Nintendo, I played like a WCW or an NWA game in like the.
Well, there was a WCW wrestling game which is called WCW Wrestling for the NES. Back in 1989, let me take a look at yeah, this one came out in December. Oh no, it came out in Japan in December of '89, but it came out in April of 1990 in North America.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has the the cover had the Road Warriors on it.
Yeah, that's the game I had, because I remember having a game with the fucking Road Warriors on it. Yeah, I remember they had some of a lot of the WCW greats at the time. Like you had like Rick Steiner, Sting. You had the Road Warriors. You had you had Eddie, the late great Eddie Gilbert.
Yeah, it says playable wrestlers and final opponent. Playable wrestlers in the game of WCW wrestling were Ric Flair, Sting, Lex Luger, the Road Warrior Hawk, and the Road Warrior Animal. It says Steve Williams, Kevin Sullivan, Rick Steamboat, also known as Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Yeah.
Rick Steiner, Eddie Gilbert. Why would and Michael Hayes and what was the other guy? There was another guy. Did I read them all?
Jimmy Garvin.
There's somebody named Mike Rotundo.
You know who Mike Rotundo is?
Well, in WCW it says Mike Rotundo, but it says Lawrence Michael Rotunda is an American retired professional wrestler, best known for World Wrestling Federation and WCW.
Yeah.
Under he has different names. It says under the ring names. Mike.
He was Erwin R. Shyster.
Okay, yeah. How come they have Eddie? They have not Eddie, but Rick Steiner, but they don't have his brother in here.
Well, back in the day, Rick Steiner started wrestling before Scott Steiner came in.
Yeah, but Scott Steiner was wrestling at that time. He started wrestling in the '80s, so I wonder.
Yeah, but I don't think he really started in WCW until around fully being a team. Because I know I got a wrestling card of them somewhere back from in '90 when they were tagged, but.
I thought they were tag teamed in the late '80s as well.
Might have been. I don't know.
I don't know, but whatever. I mean, it's not a big deal. But
yeah, I know Rick Steiner wrestled, for a brief period in WCW prior to teaming with his brother Scott.
Right.
Because he worked. He started off as a heel, and then I can't. Shit, so many years of wrestling, dude. You can't remember shit anymore about
I know. It's like you can't, as the years go by, you're just forgetting more and more.
Yeah.
And that's funny.
But yeah, I mean, I did notice that too. It's like you hear it say Rick Steiner, and you're thinking, what the fuck? No Scott Steiner? Oh yeah, that's before Scott Steiner's time.
No, Scott was wrestling in the late '80s.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure of that. I remember seeing matches with them back then. But anyways, it's not. I'd have to look that up. But anyways, yeah, I mean, those are just some of the games from the '80s. Plus, there was an arcade game, WWF Superstars.
I remember that. I remember every time going to like a restaurant, or somewhere where they had or a place where they had arcade games. Like that would be the game I would always go for. Be like, all right.
Now that was a pretty cool game for an arcade game back then. That one was cool.
Yeah, but it sucked because you can only play it you couldn't have like a Nintendo game. You couldn't take it home and play it at home. You have to go to somewhere where they had an arcade.
Right. And unfortunately, even to this day, I don't think they ever released that arcade game on any consoles for you to download or anything.
I know, that sucks.
It's like, what the fuck?
Cool.
You know, because that's what I was saying, like in one of my what if videos years ago. I said, what if they put, you know, WWF Superstars and WWF WrestleFest and WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game, all in one cabinet? Man, I'd buy that motherfucker in a heartbeat.
Hell yeah! Put it
But-
out in like a collection. Put it out in like a collection pack.
Yeah, a collection on one arcade pack, like Arcade 1-Up does. They do these arcades and they put, you know, like they did a Mortal Kombat one and a Killer Instinct. And,
Yeah.
yeah, so, but man, they need to really do is a wrestling one, which they haven't done yet. I mean, but some games like, okay, from Mat Mania, I don't know if you remember that. It's an arcade game. You can download that to your, like, PS4. You know?
Yeah.
And they got one called The Main Event from 1988, which is an arcade game released by Konami.
Huh.
Um,
Can't say that I remember that one.
yeah, I haven't. I'd have to look up gameplay on this one. 1988, The Main Event. I know a little bit about this, but in Japan, it's known as something else. I think, was it King of the Ring? It's a professional arcade game released by Konami in 1988. I guess that's what they called it in Japan, King of the Ring. But here, it's known as The Main Event. Interesting. I haven't played that one either. So, but other than that, I mean,
like I said, I can't remember that one either.
yeah, but we're going to go ahead and shift gears now from the 80s. We're going to jump right into the 90s wrestling games.
Oh yeah.
Now there's a lot that we can really go over.
Yeah, because shit, dude. There was a shit ton in the '90s.
Oh
with,
yeah, there's
all
so
the-
many.
Yeah, with all the other game systems that came out in the
Right,
90s.
Sega Genesis.
Super Nintendo.
Right, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64.
Dreamcast.
Right.
Yeah.
There's so many PlayStation 1. We're going to go,
Yeah.
and even the arcades, like we were just talking about. WWF WrestleFest 1991. Fantastic wrestling game.
Yeah, another game I remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember going to the a place. I think what was it called? Major Magics. I think it was called.
Oh yeah, major fucking matches.
Yeah, back in the day.
And later became Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. Chuck E.
That's what the one I remember it turned into. It went from, remember, it was a Major Magics one day, and you turn around and it was a fucking Chuck E. Cheese next day.
Well, I don't think that's because they own them or anything. I just think they maybe took over that spot.
Yeah.
But, anyways, I used to hit up the arcades back, in the late 80s, early 90s, and I remember seeing WWF WrestleFest gameplay, and I was like, wow, this is really cool, And that's another wrestling game that never got a, home release anywhere as a DLC, which would really be nice,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a damn shame.
Yes, sir, it was.
But that's a great game, though. I probably played it, a handful of times, and also, but another one that hit the arcades but did come to consoles is WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game.
Oh yeah, one
Now,
of our favorites.
That one hit, I want to say, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1, and let me go over to Wikipedia. The Sega Saturn. Yeah. Okay, now here, look. WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game. It hit the arcades, the Genesis, the 32X, the Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1, the Sega Saturn, and DOS. Isn't that something?
That's a lot of shit.
Yeah, that's a lot of, I have the PS1 version and I have the Genesis version. But at some point I may get the Super NES version, but they cut out like 2 wrestlers, which I thought was bullshit.
Yeah.
But that game we loved playing back in the day. That was like.
Remember those the challenges you had to do? Like,
yeah, I mean it's kind of hard to beat, and I beat it.
Yeah, because you have to beat one guy, then you have to beat another guy.
Right. And
they have to like fight 2 guys at once, or
right, and then maybe 3 at the end or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, was that fucking? I thought that was in your house.
No, it's probably both.
Yeah.
Because In Your House is a follow-up to the arcade game.
Yeah.
So they're pretty much about the same.
I remember getting that game when it first came out. Like, I went right up to a KB toy store and got it, took it home, and like I was like, it was just a really different kind of wrestling game.
Yeah, because they're using digitized wrestling.
Yeah, there's like crazy shit where you can.
Yeah, it looks like you're watching a real wrestling match.
With with shit like squirting out of somebody every time. Like, he spells that stuff. What was it, like hearts and whatever their design was? Just like
and Doink the Clown electrocuting you and shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was done by Midway, and I think that was a great. If they were to do something like that today, and I've talked about this, it would be, I think, beyond awesome and fun if Midway made another wrestling game, kind of like WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game, but this time with today's graphics. It would look like you're watching a real wrestling match. It would be damn real.
That's what I noticed. That's in the. I don't know what I forgot what the newest game is out there now, but I did see the graphics on that, and that does actually. It's getting more and more realistic now. Like,
yeah, well, it's as of right now, the newest one is WWE. Was it 2K22?
Yeah. And I remember seeing a trailer for that, and it was like, it looked like I was like, wow, it looks so much more.
Right, they really worked good on that.
Like, there's so much more detail work in the wrestlers.
Right.
You're like, wow, that looks fucking cool as hell.
Yeah, and from what I heard, they did a really good job this time around, which is good because actually they had the time to actually do the game right rather than having to pump one out every year, which doesn't really work, because they get bugs and shit. But WWF.
But look at the 2K games. They go from 2K12 to 2K whatever.
Right.
And I remember, like, it might have been all different wrestlers and different shit, but when you play, like, one of the gameplay videos we have on thing, when I was playing that one game, and like I was like, yeah, this is cool, but it's all like same control, and
everything is pretty much feels the same.
Yeah,
there was
like 2K14 to me didn't seem really no different from 2K12.
Right. Well, first we had the SmackDown games up until like 2010. And then WWE 12 came out, and then we had WWE 13, and then WWE 14, and then, we had WWE, let's see here, WWE 12, and then 13, and then it switched over to WWE 2K14.
Yeah,
which
another
2K, they added the K, and I believe another company took over. And ever since then, it's been 2K15, 2K16, and all these games, not that they're bad games, but they all pretty much felt and played the same. They're not...
Yeah, like I said, it's same controls, same setups, same move sets. It's like...
Right.
Okay, you changed wrestlers, you changed this, but
Yeah. They'll and the only thing they'll do is like swap out the roster, change it up, maybe add in a few things here, take out a few things here. But it really just felt and looked the same. Now 2K22 on the other hand, the graphics seem to have improved.
yeah.
Everything looks like it's way more fun. I haven't played it yet, but I'm definitely going to be getting it.
It looked
And
more, like I said, it looked more like they're having a realistic
Right.
wrestling match.
yeah, but these 2K games, like I said, they're not bad. It's just when you feel like you're playing the same thing.
Yeah,
It's
you're getting different wrestlers and
Right.
different rosters, but
you're getting
all the
different
controls
versions
are
of the
basically the same.
right. You're getting different versions of the same thing. That's it.
Yeah.
It like on the other, like if you take another game that was just released like 2 years ago called WWE 2K Battlegrounds, that's completely different than these other 2K games.
I heard about it.
Yeah, I have it and played it on my channel. That's completely different, which is cool. But for years, that's all we've been getting. This same thing over and over. It's like finally, just the past year or two, we're getting changed, different games, wrestling games.
Going back into like the '90s, like we had like when Sega and all that stuff came out.
We had a variety back in the '90s. So even Sega had its own wrestling games. Super Nintendo had its own. Like the PlayStation 1 had its own. The N64 had its own, and they all looked and played differently for the most part.
Yeah, like remember the SmackDown games? I remember having SmackDown 2 Know Your Role for the original PlayStation. That was a fucking awesome game because you had you could create your own wrestlers. You could have they'd be the storylines part of it, like week to week storylines and it's just like, man, this is freaking cool.
Yeah, I mean, even in the early 2000s, which we'll get into here in a minute, but they had GameCube had its own wrestling games. They had the Day of Reckoning games. The Xbox had the Raw games, and PS2 had the SmackDown games.
Yeah,
so that's what we need, variety.
Yeah, I remember my cousin years ago having a GameCube and. He had a wrestling game for that. I think it was what was it? Was it WrestleMania or something for it? Like
he had ones for the GameCube. Well, there was the Day of Reckoning 1 and 2 for the GameCube.
Okay.
And then there was 2 more for the GameCube. Let's take a look. Where the hell are you at?
I want to say one was like a WrestleMania game. I remember him having.
Let's see.
I remember having.
I'm looking. Okay, we had for the GameCube, Day of Reckoning 1 and 2, and we had WWE WrestleMania 18 and WrestleMania 19.
Yeah, I remember. I think my cousin had thing that had the 18 one.
Yeah,
was it 18?
I have them all.
Yeah,
and one of the reasons why I have a lot of these wrestling games is I got to give a big thank you if he's watching this is my buddy Joey over there at Wrestling Rampage for finding these games for me because a lot of these I've been having a hard time finding. So.
Oh yeah,
hell yeah.
Dude. You want to try to find anything like from our younger days, it's hard as hell to find now.
Yeah, I mean nowadays, it's getting harder and harder. Let's see. So we're into the '90s wrestling games. Obviously, you got WWF Raw. For the Super Nintendo, you got WWF Super WrestleMania, and you got WWF Royal Rumble. All for the Super Nintendo, which are they pretty much all like look and play the same, but they are fun.
I remember having the Royal Rumble game. I loved doing the Royal Rumble matches.
Yeah. Which wrestling games did you have for the '90s? Do you remember?
I
I can go over some right now. Like for the PS1, you had WWF Warzone.
Like all the games I remember having growing up from a kid to the ones we all talked about was like I had the WrestleMania for Nintendo.
Right.
I had the WCW game. I had I think we got Sega, and I had WrestleMania the arcade game. I had the Royal Rumble one.
Did you have did you have any for the N64?
That was one thing I don't think we ever had was a Nintendo 64. I think we had Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, and then we had a PlayStation.
All right, because there was also WWF King of the Ring that came out for the NES, I believe. Yeah, NES in 1993.
Okay.
I don't have that one, and I need to get that one. They also had WCW/NWO Thunder. That was for the PlayStation 1.
Yeah. I remember the only WCW games I had for PlayStation, I had, I think it was WCW versus the World or WCW.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, this is. They do have WCW versus the World for the PlayStation 1. I have that.
Yeah. I remember getting that game when I found out it was like the day it got released. I remember I was like, I got my dad to take me to the mall and be like, hey, I want to go get this WrestleMania game.
Oh yeah.
Or not WrestleMania game, but this WCW game, and I was like, I was like, yeah, it's pretty cool. It had, it had all like a bunch of stars, and it had a bunch of wrestlers you never even heard of, like Japanese wrestlers. Like, wait a minute, these people weren't part of wrestling.
It's just a lot of extras they threw. They also had WCW NWO Revenge.
Yeah, that was for what was that? The Super Nintendo, right?
That was for the N64.
Yeah. I remember that was the game my cousin had. I always used to go over and play wrestling games with my cousin. He had that he had the 64 with the.
I didn't realize this. They have a lot of WCW games back in the day.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I always thought in my mind they only have like 3 or 4, but no, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games.
Damn, that's a lot.
Yeah, they got WCW versus NWO World Tour. And they got WCW Mayhem. WCW Nitro.
Yeah.
WCW NWO Thunder.
WCW Nitro.
Huh?
So I think I remember playing WCW Nitro.
Yeah. I mean, I have all of these games. Which is cool, Oh yeah, they got one for the Super NES called WCW Super Brawl Wrestling for the Super Nintendo system, which I don't have. I wouldn't mind picking that up. Hell yeah, man! And then also they got the Fire Pro Wrestling. Back then, let's see, they got one from 1996. What? Oh yes, Power Move Pro Wrestling for the PlayStation 1, which I have.
Yeah.
That one's halfway decent. I like that one. I remember playing it back in the day too. That is a decent game. But yeah, also there was WWF WrestleMania 2000.
Yeah.
But that came out in 1999 for the N64.
Damn.
Which is pretty good. And then there's Warzone for the PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
We got WWF WrestleMania Steel Cage Challenge. Now, this is for the Nintendo Entertainment System and for the Sega Master System, and Sega Game Gear. I don't think I've ever played that version.
No.
Oh no.
I remember playing a Steel Cage deal.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, but I don't remember shit. There's so many. Like I said, there's so many wrestling games.
Right.
I can't remember. I mean, it's hard to remember what I had and what I didn't have, but.
And of course, for the arcades, and they had Saturday Night Slam Masters 1 and 2. The first one hit the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. And also, WWF in your house.
Yeah.
That one was fun. I thought it was pretty fun. And yeah, I mean, there's quite a few more, but we're going to bounce on over to the 2000s now.
Yeah.
Let's bounce on over and we'll talk about some wrestling games. This is where the WWF SmackDown games came into play for the PlayStation.
SmackDown, know you're rolling. Shut your mouth.
I remember when I was working at Myers back in the day. I remember one of my friends was like, "Oh man, I got to get this WWF SmackDown 2 game. I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna kick some ass." And it was cool back then, because you see somebody like buying a brand new PlayStation 1 game, and I don't know, it was just cool times, man, back in the early 2000s.
Yeah. I remember SmackDown, they came out with SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, and they were showing the trailers to it.
Yeah, that's for the PlayStation 2.
Like Brock Lesnar walking backstage, and he's talking like passing by people like Chris Benoit saying something like, "You're nothing, Lesnar."
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and at the end, like Torrie Wilson walks up to him and goes, "Throw on panties match right now," and like you see like the wrestling part of the game thing, her getting her clothes ripped off, and then you just see Brock stand there holding up her bra and going, "I win."
Yeah. See, I mean, they don't do commercials like that no more, man.
No, dude.
I mean, where's see, that's the fun of things, man. When you could come up with a fantastic video game commercial, like, I love that shit. Huh?
I like how they tied like the real stuff in with like gameplay stuff.
Right.
Like when Chris Benoit was telling them like, "You're nothing, Lesnar," like they're showing like their characters on the game like wrestling, and then like when Torrie Wilson came up, it was like bra and panties match right now, and then like and they showed her like in the her character in the game fighting someone, and her getting her clothes ripped off and running backstage, and then it shows Brock holding the ball and like, "I win."
Yeah. So you had a lot of those games for the PS1 into the PS2.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, even the guy that was announcing the whole thing, when Brock said that he win, he's like, "No, Brock, we all win."
Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to watch that again, but yeah, I do remember that part, the bits and parts of that commercial. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, those SmackDown. Like I said, the one I remember the most, because that was the only one I really had was SmackDown 2 Know Your Role. Like,
right, I think that's pretty much what everybody had or wanted, because it improved big time from the original SmackDown game on some things.
It was cool because there's a lot of wrestlers on there that don't even wrestle anymore.
Oh, no. Like, some of them probably passed. Oh yeah, definitely. Some of them passed on since then.
Yeah, like you remember they had like Chris Benoit in there, China,
right?
Craft Ollie, like.
Yeah.
I always liked it. Like I like when they designed the games that you could go in and you can make your own character and build a wrestler like the way you want to see them.
Right.
And then you could be that person and go through the ranks and totally become like the new world champion.
Hell yeah! I mean, those are some of the most fun games. SmackDown 2, man, that's a fun.
Yeah.
You know, I can't say the same about the WWE Raw games for the Xbox.
Oh yeah, the fucking Raw. The
Those games, you know what? The only thing I'm gonna give them on is the graphics on those games are pretty good. I'll give them that. For an original Xbox game, the Raw games graphics are good, but where it falls flat on its face is where the gameplay, where the controllers it doesn't feel right.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, I know,
It's
like
just
that game and the first SmackDown versus Raw games were hard to play because I couldn't understand the control aspect of it, like how to actually do moves and shit. Like you had to do a certain way of doing it, and I basically sucked at those games. But like I said, WWE 12 came out, and then the way they did it now, it's like, hell, they made it a lot easier to fucking play.
Yeah, I mean, we if we ever hang out again, man, we'll definitely get back into all that.
Hell yeah.
Also,
we'll definitely make some real fucking gameplay videos.
We'll have some big epic wrestling game nights.
Hell yeah.
We'll go old school. And also, for the N64, one of the most popular games is WWF No Mercy.
No Mercy.
Now, I would assume that you played this game at some point back in the day.
I may have, like, I don't remember though. Like, honestly, like I probably did, but I can't remember. Like I said, all these video games they come out with, like, right. I'm sure I remember the No Mercy game, but
right, just don't remember playing it.
I just don't really remember if I, playing it. Okay.
Do you remember playing?
What?
Do you remember playing any of the ECW video games back in the day? There's only 2 of them.
I never played the ECW games.
We had Hardcore Revolution and Anarchy Rules. Now, I played Hardcore Revolution, and I have that game for the PS1, and I think the Dreamcast. I think. But I don't think I've ever played Anarchy Rules, and that game I cannot find for a good price. It's expensive.
Yeah.
But if I ever see it on the cheap, I'll get it.
Yeah, like I said, I never played the ECW games. I don't think I could ever get my hands on a copy of them.
Now, of course, back in the day, we definitely played Backyard Wrestling 1 and 2, for the Xbox and the PS2 and all that. And you know what? I like those games. I wish they'd do a Backyard Wrestling 3 with ICP and all that shit.
Yeah.
I mean, New Jack has passed away, but it would be cool to have a wrestling game where you're, having that backyard shit again, because you don't get nothing like that these days, guys.
Yeah.
Think about that. When's the last time you've seen a wrestling game like the Backyard Wrestling games? Come on. And how cool would it be if we got a new Backyard Wrestling game? Well, it doesn't have to be a third game or nothing. It could just be its own game, but something like on the level of the Backyard Wrestling games. Something new.
Yeah.
That's different. And with today's graphics, that would be fucking cool, I think.
Hell yeah, it would be, dude.
Yeah, I played that a lot back in the day.
With today's technology and the way Backyard Wrestling was, they could make that.
That could look
so badass.
Yeah, they could make it look real badass. Now, I'm sure we played those games back in the day. I know I have. I don't remember if I played them with you.
I believe I played the Backyard. I remember playing this Backyard kind of wrestling game.
Yeah, there came out in 2003 and 2004.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we played them at some point. I know I played them by myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, those games are fun. And also, I don't know if you ever played these games, but they made Rumble Roses for the PS2 back in 2004, and then they did Rumble Roses for the Xbox 360 in 2006. Now, have you ever played those games?
No.
No. I have them both, and they are fun.
Okay.
I never really played them back in the days either. I don't know why I never got into them back then, but you know, a few years ago when I picked those games up, I was like, hell yeah. Now let's see, what else do we got? Obviously, we have the SmackDown game. Well, they got Celebrity Deathmatch on this list of wrestling games, even though it's more of a beat 'em up.
Yeah.
You know, that's all right. Nothing great, but it's all right. Oh yes, there's also the Def Jam games. Yeah, those games have went up in price, especially the second one. And, yeah. I used to have them for the PS2, but I got rid of them years ago, and I wish I hadn't done that. Those were fun games. That's where like rappers beat the shit out of each other and do some wrestling moves and whatnot.
I remember that.
Yeah. Now I've never played the third game, but I would like to. Yeah. That's cool. Def Jam, Vendetta. Then they have Def Jam, what is it? Fight for New York. Nice. Let's see what else we got. Also, we got obviously the Day of Reckoning games for the GameCube. Those are good.
Yeah.
Those have a lot of good replay value, and I think those are pretty fun. Also, there is WWE Legends of WrestleMania from 2009. That one plays a little different, you know.
Yeah.
And that one is not half bad. I've played it, filmed some gameplay of that. I don't think I've posted any gameplays of WWE Legends of WrestleMania just yet, but it's coming. Oh yeah. Do you remember The Simpsons wrestling from 2001?
I don't. I never played The Simpsons. I only ever played I think I ever only played one Simpsons game in my life, and that was like a Road Rage one or something like that.
Okay, yeah, that's yeah. And there's also WWE Crush Hour, which is a racing game, like Twisted.
Yeah, I never played that one either.
Yeah, it's like Twisted Metal. Oh yeah, there's WWE WrestleMania 21 for the Xbox, which is pretty fun.
Yeah.
Let's see here. They do have. Oh yeah, they got WWF Road to WrestleMania for the Game Boy Advance, which I do have. That's a decent game. And they also have Fire Pro Wrestling Returns for the PS2, which I do have, but it's downloaded to one of my PS3 systems. You know.
Oh, really?
Facts, my friend, facts.
Are they really?
Oh, and we got WCW Backstage Assault. So yeah, they did a lot of WCW games all together. Yeah. Close to 10 now. That's crazy.
I wonder if they had my old favorite wrestler from back in the days of WCW, old Buff Daddy.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
Buff Daddy.
And of course, we have WWF Royal Rumble, which says released in 2000 for the arcades, and then hit the Dreamcast. I do have the Dreamcast version of that, and I think it's a fun game that holds up well. Even more fun if you're playing with friends.
Yeah, that's one thing I never had growing up. I never had a Dreamcast.
Yeah, I did. I got that pretty much right away. I was working at Myers, I think I got it almost right away. I remember I picked it up at Myers. I was working at Myers, and I couldn't find. I think this is before the PS2 came out. I wanted to get a Dreamcast. There's a few games that I wanted. I think one of them was like Dead or Alive 2 and Shenmue, and we got WWF. What was it? Attitude for
A
the
lot of fucking
Dreamcast.
games.
Huh?
It's a lot of fucking games.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I mean,
If you were a wrestling fan back in the 90s, like I said, 2000s, you had your fair share of wrestling games. Like,
yeah. Plus, there's the Legends of Wrestling games, which they're all right.
Yeah.
They're nothing great, but I did like the roster in those games. They would have like managers and shit all in there, which I thought was kind of cool. You know, it would be cool to, you know, make a wrestling game and just put a lot of the managers in there, you know? Have a good variety of that type of shit.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I remember back in the day, me and we were hitting up GameStop or whatever. We were looking for some of the WWE SmackDown games. I think we wanted to play like SmackDown versus Raw 2007.
Yeah.
And I remember we saw it at one place, so we decided to go like somewhere else. We couldn't find it, and then like my buddy Craig came over and he brought like one or two of the SmackDown games, and you wanted to borrow it, and he didn't want to loan it out. You know, he always kept his games in good shape. He didn't really want to.
I mean, I understand.
Which is cool. Yeah, and
I found it like hard to fucking play because it's like I couldn't get like, you know, didn't know like to really how to play the fucking game, and
right.
And it's just like I remember Craig would get mad because I kept doing the same move over on him. So that's all I knew. That's all I could do.
Yeah, he could just work you out like that. I remember one night, one of my birthdays. I think this was in 2008, and we were at my girlfriend's house, and I had Craig come out, and you were there, and our other buddy Ken came out. Yeah. And we were playing like a 2-on-2 matches. Oh no, and didn't Mike? I think Mike came out too with his friend.
Yeah, and we all had a big old game night. And
we had a big ass wrestling game night. I think we're having like 3-on-3 matches or some shit like that.
I remember Craig got pissed off at one point because everybody kept like attacking him and he couldn't even do nothing. He just like threw his controller down like, well, fuck it, I might as well not even try anymore.
Yeah. I think this was for the Xbox 360. One of the games for the Xbox, one of the wrestling games. Yeah. I don't remember which one, but man, it was I wish I would have broke out my camera and filmed this night because it was fun, man. We were having 3-on-3 wrestling matches, and damn it.
That was the same night where I ate too much fucking Domino's pizza and got one of them getting sick.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Good times, man. Good times, though.
I mean, that was the thing. We were having such a good time, and we had all that fucking pizza, and it's like I'm
right.
And like, I just going at it, and I got sick that night from it.
Well,
I was like, I better never eat that much pizza ever again.
Don't do it again, man. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it for now. I think we've gone over pretty much everything from the 90s to the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s that we've played and done. You know.
Yeah. We talked about 2K games and.
Right. We didn't go over everything, but we covered a lot.
Yeah, we covered a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We kind of took a trip down memory lane. All the wrestling games that we had growing up.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And you know what's cool? Most of these games I have right now.
You lucky bastard.
Well, it just takes years of, going out there and hunting down for these games, man.
Hell yeah.
And I love playing them. I got lots and lots, especially with this year's Wrestling Rampage package, man. I got a lot. So a lot of games I got to be playing and posting here. But anyways, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this podcast up. We're closing in on the 1 hour mark here, so
Yeah, I think we probably bored enough people.
yeah, either we bored them or we made them happy. You know.
Hey, if anybody's really watching this, if you made it this far into our podcast, we do appreciate it.
Hell yeah, man. We like going down the trips down memory lane.
Yeah.
You know, it's cool talking about this stuff because it brings up, past moments that, sometimes you forget about.
Yeah, especially remember back in the good old days of real true wrestling, not the fucking garbage we have out there today.
Yeah, you were right about that. Indeed. So anyways, we hope you guys enjoyed. We out of here for now, and we'll be back again before you know it with another podcast. And have a good one, people. We out.
Bye.
See ya.